Happy March. It's close to the end of March now. This is our new teaching kitchen. We're gonna start trying to implement them at least once a month, which is a new thing that I want to offer to all of the residents here. Last month, if you guys didn't know, we had a not truffle class. Well, it was a chocolates class in general. Yes, with a whole bunch of different chocolate treats. So what my theme of what we really want to kind of do and what I want to show you guys is knowing what exactly you're putting into your body at the end of the day. And that's why I want to go ahead and what I like to call is clean cooking, which is knowing, like I said, everything, all ingredients, and really just being aware of what you're consuming at the end of the day, and always just making sure that you're health conscious. So I guess what I'm gonna go ahead and kind of get started on, if you can see right here in the front of us, is seeds, is what we're actually gonna be presenting today. And something fun that I thought can be a little bit interesting that we can go and incorporate into our diets is seeded bread, is what I'm gonna be offering and showing you guys today exactly what we're gonna be making.
Ooh, yeah.
And then I have Arlena with me today. She'll go ahead and give us a little bit of an explanation, some health benefits of seeds themselves. And all right, you wanna go ahead and get started?
Yeah, so I just wanted to kind of give you some health tidbits about the seeds that Pasquale provided in the bread today. So seeds in general are very, very similar in properties. So they're stock full of soluble fiber, healthy fats, protein, and a variety of antioxidants and vitamins and minerals. And then we have several different seeds today, which we have in this bowl here, which he does have sprinkled on the bread. But we have sunflower seeds, pumpkin seeds, flax seeds, sesame seeds, and fennel seeds. And each of them very, very similar, but each of them do have their particular properties that make them unique. So the sunflower seeds today, it contains vitamin E, and that supports healthy skin, boosts your immune function, and promotes heart health. And then pumpkin seeds contain magnesium, that helps maintain nerve and muscle function, blood sugar, supports energy levels, and strengthens bones, and promotes your heart health. And they also contain tryptophan, which promotes healthy sleep, which we do all need for a nice successful next day. And then flax seeds, those are rich in alpha-linoleic acid and omega-3, and that helps reduce inflammation and lowers cholesterol. They're also a good source of thiamine, which supports energy level and cell function. They are also high in copper, and that promotes brain development, boosts your immune function, and helps with iron metabolism. And then sesame seeds, so he did put quite a few different seeds in here so we get all those benefits. They have a good source of thiamine, niacin, and vitamin B6, so those are all B vitamins, and they support energy and cell function. They are also a good source of iron and copper, which helps with blood cell formation and boosts immune system function. And then selenium, that's a vital role in our thyroid hormones. And then fennel seeds. So we used them for a couple different reasons. So they are an aromatic herb. So it does add some flavor, and then there is a seed component. It actually contains an ethyl, and it's a component in the essential oil. So sometimes essential oils are very, very concentrated, and they contain a lot more than what you'll actually eat if you eat the fennel itself, but it may act as an appetite suppressant. So people do use it as tea prior to meals, and it does have galactogenic properties, so it helps with nursing mothers. But those are some of the benefits incorporated in the seeds today.
Right. So let's get started with the bread. So, if most of you might not know, but bread is one of my favorite things that I absolutely love making. It's one of my specialties, I like to say, besides cakes. So whenever you're starting off with breads and creating the breads, you have to really know what really makes it rise at the end of the day. And what it is yeast, which is what we call a natural leavener. So whenever we're adding the water, we have to make sure that it's not too hot, because otherwise that can kill the yeast. And we also need to make sure that it's not too cold, because otherwise it's not going to actually activate the yeast to make it happy. So normally when I'm going and creating this, the temperature of the water, I like to range it between 90 and 100 was my golden little rule. So we're going to go ahead and add the warm water into the bowl itself. What I'm going to go ahead and do is add the yeast into it. And there's two types of yeast that you can actually use and you can find at the store. They either have dry active yeast, which is something you have to activate, which I'm doing right now, or we have instant yeast, which you can go ahead and add to your flours and just mix it all together at once, which is going to be able to give you that same result. So if you want to do something a little bit quicker, then you can go ahead and use your instant yeast itself. And then what I like to do is add a little bit of honey, and what that is gonna give a little food to the yeast to get it excited, to get it ready to go. And we'll go ahead and add the honey into this itself. Exactly, you gotta get it excited, you gotta get it ready to go. Because what's actually happening is what actually develops the yeast to actually be able to go and produce the bubbles at the end of the day is, I mean, it's gonna sound a little bit gross, but it's the farts. So what it's actually doing is it's going and the yeast is digesting it because it is alive. It's a bacteria. So that's what we're pretty much doing. So we're kind of going and creating an environment for it to go and let it have a little bit of fun before we put it in the oven and put it to rest. So normally right here, what I'll go ahead and do is let the yeast bloom a little bit, which is, again, just letting it get situated, let it grow, but I'll go ahead and just cheat it a little bit. So what I like to do is always start with my liquids at the bottom, because what happens is that the flour, if we go ahead and add it first, it tends to kind of stick to the bottom of the bowl whenever you're actually doing it. So this gives you a little bit of a safety net, so you don't actually have those flour clumps that are actually going into there. And what I'm doing right now is I have two different flours. We have a whole wheat flour and a bread flour. Typically, I like to use the whole wheat just to give a little bit more of a rustic flavor to it. It gives it a little bit different. Yeah, we go ahead and just start kneading it around. What I normally do is I'll put this in a KitchenAid, but we don't all have KitchenAids. So you can always just do this by hand as well. Just go ahead and knead. I think this is something fun, play around with the grandkids too. For once, you can actually play around with your food. Go and let them just have fun with it, go wild. Because what we're doing with the yeast and the flour is, what's found in flour is called gluten, which everyone hears a lot, so sometimes gluten-free. And what it actually is a protein that's found in the flours. Which what that does is creates the structure for the bread to be able to just do its thing. You want to play around with this a little bit? If you like.
Yeah.
Why not?
It's like a homemade Play-Doh.
Exactly. This is something fun to always do with your family. And what I like to tell people a lot of times is, what I usually tell them a lot of times is, once you actually eat homemade bread, you kind of can't go away from it. It's a flavor that you're not gonna get from anywhere else. The stores normally, they always add these additives and preservatives inside of the breads to ask them to last longer. They also bake them a long time in advance, so then they're just frozen and they're thawed out. So this isn't really, grocery store bread isn't my thing, I'll just say that. It just doesn't give you the same experience that you're really going for. So what I've already done for us now is, once that goes and completes, when we finish kneading it itself, we'll turn it into a little ball and we'll just let it rest for about an hour or two, so then you can kind of go and just let it do its thing. And what I'm doing right now is I call it folding in the dough. What we're doing is just going and regulating the temperature, because typically the middle of the dough itself is a lot hotter. So you want to go ahead and make sure that the yeast and everything has enough of a controlled environment, like we're saying. We're just making sure that it's happy.
It smells really nice too. It already smells like bread. Fresh baked bread.
And what I wanted to show you guys a little bit is the shaping process of the bread itself. So what is good about this one is that it's not too sticky. So what I normally like to do is kind of create a little bit of a rectangle here, is as our base. And we call it an envelope fold. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna fold it into a third. And while we're folding in, we wanna start going and pinching down the sides to create that crease, so then your bread isn't gonna pop open whenever we bake it off. One of my chefs used to always tell me that however you put your stuff in the oven, it's gonna come out like that. So at times people make this misconception that if you have it a little bit wonky, that maybe it just would just turn out, but it's gonna break, it's gonna pop open, things are gonna happen to it. So what you wanna ensure is that you're always making sure that we're closing off these little ends. And then what I like to do to finish off the close itself is I'll get my thumb, and I'm gonna be using the palm of my hands. We're gonna be pushing the dough into itself to finish off a seam, creating like a log. So normally at most grocery stores, because that's one of my past jobs that I used to do. At most grocery stores, they're gonna get them already pre-made and done like this, no needing to shape. All they do is just proof it and bake it off. And again, just play around with it a little bit. And what we like to do is we like to use a little bit of the tension of the table in your, to actually benefit, to be able to get those nice closed seams. And what we're looking for and we're trying to go and create is a nice cohesive dough. And so what I'll try to do is kind of flatten off the dough in itself. So then you go ahead and have that even sort of bake as it continues to proof. What I'll normally do, what my rule is that we'll go ahead and proof it about an inch above the pan itself before we bake it off. And then, so in the dough itself, we have the seeds already in there, which is an incorporation. But what we also do is called the seeding, like a soak. So what we do is we'll soak the seeds in there for a little bit, because what tends to happen is when you have the seeds on the outside of the dough, they have more of a chance to burn or to get black, and things happen because breads are normally baked at a high temperature. Normally, this one right here is going to be baked at 400 degrees. So what we want to make sure and ensure that this doesn't go and burn, it just browns nicely. What really happens at the end of the day. And then let's go ahead and
soaked in water?
yeah, we just go ahead and just soak these seeds in the water, give it a little bit of a time. I normally like to start the process of soaking the seeds when I start the bread itself. So once we kind of like proof it and let it sit there, we'll go ahead and just create this little topping.
And you said you had seeds in the bread?
Yes.
So what was your ratio of seeds to flour?
So what I normally like to do is create a seed mix, is what I'll call it. And this one in particular did, what did we have? We had pumpkin seeds, we had sunflower seeds, and then we had the
Flax seeds.
the flax seeds as well, sesame seeds, fennel seeds that I added all in there, and then a little bit of oats as well, is what I like to put on the top of it.
All in there.
So then what I like to do is just do a little bit of a ratio of each of them, whether you're making it, do like a teaspoon of each of them, and then put it together and just throw it inside of the dough.
In how many cups of flour?
So what I'll do for you guys is I actually have recipes for you of all of these. I'll go ahead and get all of your emails at the end so we can go and get you this bread so you can make it at home. It's about a 3-hour process, start to finish. And this is what I love about bread, is because you can start this in the morning if you really want to. Go and start the rest of your day, come back a little bit later, go and check on it, leave, come back, check on it a little bit more. Once it's desired temperature, the desired height, just bake it in the oven, you have it ready for dinner. So, you know.
Tip it up so we can see the seeds on top.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
nice.
So this is how we're gonna normally do, just have the seeds on the inside of, on the top of it.
Can you actually freeze the dough?
You can actually freeze the dough. So you can make this in advance and ahead of time, just go ahead and put it in your freezer, take it out normally, like this is what most, like I was saying, most bakeries do. They have the bread that's like this, it's frozen, they take it out, you proof it like you normally proof the bread, you bake it off. So all these things can be made ahead of time. You can even freeze this bread itself already completed, last about a month or two if you actually want to. Pull it out, put it in the oven for a second. What I like to do is I wrap it in a wet cloth, and then you put it in the oven so then it can create that steam, because that's what also makes it real soft. So steam is always your friend with this. And when baking off the bread itself, what I also like to do, we go ahead and we'll add like a sheet pan of water on the bottom, or whatever you guys really have. Put it in the bottom, go ahead and turn on your oven, preheat it, so then it creates like I said, an environment for the bread to go ahead and just do its thing.
So the excited yeast that has been frozen, was it killed? Or is
No, so what they call it is
It was dormant.
exactly, dormant is what we'll call it. So it's just the same concept that we do with your meats. So then when you put them in the freezer, so you're not really, it's not really like stopping, you're just stopping it from continuing to grow. So you can do the same thing like this. You can even put it in the refrigerator if you don't want to bake it the next day. You know what I mean? Just again, get it ahead of time. Just have the bread just ready for you guys, ready to go.
What do you do if you want your crust
Crunchy.
hard?
So again, what I like to do, we'll bake at a little bit of a higher temperature. So at the beginning of the process, so say instead of 400, we'll bake at 450, and then reduce it down to the 400 so it gets to go and create the inside to finish it off. And then also you can just leave the steam out altogether. You don't have to put that pan in there, and then just so then it can create that nice crunchy outside, soft inside. So this is what I provided for you guys today, was the bread itself. And what I also wanted to do was incorporate seeds a little bit more. So what I actually did was create a chicken salad sandwich for you guys. A curry chicken salad sandwich, will be specific. So what I did is I even included the mayo itself, which was made out of sunflower seed oil. So So we made the mayo, and then we went ahead and then made the chicken salad. And then just added the toasted, what seed did I put in there? My toasted pumpkin seeds is what I put inside of there to give it a little bit of a crunch. So I can go ahead and do is pass them out to you
Marvelous.
guys and let you try it out.
Do you make all of our bread here?
The ones that I make currently right now is the ones at Blue Bonnet, which are the biscuits.
You make the biscuit,
Yes.
only the biscuit.
And then in the past, I've also done your guys' focaccia. We've done those, even over at Water's Edge when we used to do the dinner rolls were the other ones that I used to make for you guys. But since I've gone to this side, yes.
Bread.
You see, and that's the other one.
Healthful bread.
Your healthy bread, exactly.
So Pasquale,
Yes,
if you were to turn it to 450 to get to crisp,
Mhm.
that's pretty hot.
Yes.
About how long?
what I normally like to do is about maybe 5 minutes,
Okay,
10 minutes.
yeah.
Let it, once, you like to look at the color of it itself, so make sure it's not too dark going.
Okay.
But yeah, about 10 minutes is something that you can kind of do for that.
And they would be raw to start with.
The seeds?
Well.
Yes, so they're all gonna be the uncooked seeds. We're gonna go ahead and just soak, and that's why we soak them in that water.
Okay.
So then you make sure that when you're putting them at such a high temperature that they're not gonna burn on
That's
you.
right, okay.
Mhm.
That makes sense.
Any other questions? While we're waiting for our chicken salad sandwiches to come around.
It looks delicious. Can you not make more bread? Do you just not have time for that, or what?
There is a lot of other things that I am currently doing. Hopefully, we're trying to get a bigger staff so I can be able to actually go ahead and produce all of these things for you
I
guys.
volunteer.
Exactly, there you go, why not? And again, this is something quick and, well, not quick and easy. It's something, a simple project that you go ahead and just, like I said, put inside of your mixer, just let it go. Or if you want to just play around with some, like I said, with the little kids, just go and let them just play around with the dough. And then just let it sit there, because the bread at the end of the day, the yeast is doing the work for you. So, it's eating it up and it's actually breaking down those proteins that are still in there. And then it's creating that structure that we see today, which is in the bread itself.
I tried to teach my grandchildren how to make crepes, and I swear we had them on the ceiling, they were on the ground. Slipping on it. It
Well,
was a
that's the fun
disaster.
thing, that's the fun, the cleanup isn't the fun part,
No.
I will say.
What's the fun part?
But the process is the best, I think,
Yeah.
it's always great. Exactly, creates memories.
A nightmare for me.
That was your ceiling, right?
You can give me one.
Well, how does this work in the bread maker?
And the bread maker, so what you're gonna actually do is, like I said in the beginning, is you're gonna go ahead and you're gonna bloom your yeast, and that's what you're gonna start with first, and then just add the rest of the ingredients all in there, let it do its thing. Yeah, cause I have a bread machine at home, that's something I like to play around with too.
I never have good luck with yeast. I never did either.
Do you give any nutritional information on the breads that you're making?
Pizza dough.
I haven't actually put it into an actual, I guess, program itself to be able to do that, but I'm more than available to go and do that. I can go and make it happen for you guys, or I can go and create this for you.
So Pascal, what is the secret to yeast?
The secret to yeast. Just make sure you don't kill it. Again, it's a temperature game at the end of the day. Even when you're proofing it in itself, you have to make sure that you don't put it in such a hot temperature, which is why something good like this, you can just leave out just on your counter itself. Just let it go and do its thing. That's what I like to recommend, because people like to create proofers inside of their ovens, and what tends to happen is that they'll actually kill the yeast before it's even going into the thing, because it's just too hot. So yeast dies at 140, I believe, is the temperature itself. So as long as you just leave it out, it's just gonna do its thing. It's again, the golden area of the bread and the yeast development is around 90 to 100, like I was saying. That's the good range, so you can always just have them there. So again, just taking temperatures and always making sure that you're keeping track of that is one of the most helpful tips I can give you as far as that.